Hello, bourbon, wine, and true crime listeners. I'm AJ.
I'm Sunny.
And I'm Randi, and this is Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime, a podcast where three intelligent but highly absent-minded friends sit down once a week to drink together virtually and discuss true crime. Hello, ladies.
Hello, Red Lips Gorgeous. How are you today?
Uh,
I'm feeling your red lips.
Yeah, I'm
thanks.
like, I feel like you were trying to I feel like I'm blushing just looking at you.
Right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of that facade right now.
How you doing?
How you doing? How you
I'm
doing,
in-
Randy?
Oi, sis, I'm doing great. I'm in sunny Florida.
You're
family.
in Florida with the family?
I'm in Florida with the family, so if I look a little bit more pink than usual, it's because it's a sunburn because the sun hates me.
Can we, fun fact about Randi is we went kayaking outside and she was wearing a long sleeve, thick gray shirt the entire time, including SPF 70 sunscreen. And she burned through the shirt.
Through my clothes. I burned through my clothes, ladies and gentlemen.
That is your unfortunate superpower. So you rolled the wrong radioactive substance, and
I like this fun fact segment. I dig it. So Randi, fun fact, her superpowers is UV magnification. Right? Like she can
Correct.
So she would be Superman's worst nightmare. Okay. I love it. What is Randi, do you have an anecdote about Sunny and what her superpower might be?
I'm terrified.
Yeah. So Sunny ruins everything. That's Sunny's fun fact. So for those of you, so military healthcare is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing thing.
The system is just spectacular.
It is flawless. So
Flawless.
I was prescribed a painkiller because I had knee pain, as one does get in the military. And one day Sunny came over. Can't imagine why. So one day Sunny comes over and she's like, "Oh, I messed up my knee hurts." And I was like, "Oh, perfect. I have these pain pills that the military doctors gave me for knee pain."
I have a question.
Yes.
Was it 800 milligram ibuprofen?
It was not. That was planned too.
It was not.
And then I had to take a knee and drink water.
I was looking for some ibuprofen, but Randi will explain what happened next.
Let me
So
hear
I come out with these pills, and on the bottle it says take every X amount of hours for pain. And I was like, "Hey, they gave this to me for knee pain. You have knee pain. Here you go." And Sunny, being Sunny, who ruins everything, she looks it up on the Google, and she says, "Randi, this is for seizures." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's for knee pain. I asked them for it for knee pain." And she goes, "No, look, see, it's for seizures." So now, thanks to Sunny, I have to Google every, as I should have before, medication that I get from the military. So that is my fun fact.
Fair, sometimes there are side effects that happen to be the thing that you're looking for, and that is the thing. But for a person who I kind of twisted my knee a little bit, ibuprofen's good.
You didn't need seizure meds?
Okay. You should not need seizure medication for.
I do have an eye twitch pretty frequently, so if it can help with that,
I would prescribe potassium. Eat a banana.
A nice banana.
For sure.
Okay, Sunny, you have to have a fun fact about AJ.
Oh, what is my superpower that I don't wish to hear about?
Oh, stop it. See, the thing is all the superpowers that I can think of for you are okay. I have one. So AJ tends to attract insane people. So this is her superpower. And Randi is a super magnet for UV light. AJ is a super magnet for insanity, which is why we're friends. So
I cannot deny this. This is a fact.
But AJ has had multiple occasions where people are like, I just really like you. I really like you. I'm outside of your house. I'd like to take off your skin and wear it as my own. And it's just kind of escalated to really intense levels. So, and she's always so kind about it. But the fact that your skin is still on you, I'm very grateful for that. Not really sure how we got here, though.
Okay, so the moral of the story is if I'm dead and my face is missing, we know who to ask.
Yes, I have a list.
We have a list.
Right.
I have a list of one person.
You're not wrong. Neither one of you are wrong at all. Oh, yeah, that's accurate.
But I wish I could say it was one, but AJ, it's been many.
It's been many.
It's been many. So similar. So Lauren, if you're listening,
Hi Lauren.
Is a super magnet, and she is also a super magnet for insane people, but they are always homeless 100% of the time. And there's been so I told her
they live in Denver.
They may live in Denver, but
we love you, Denver. I'm just kidding. We love you. All hearts to Denver.
She was waiting for a bus, and this guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, don't know if you're interested, but my sleeping bag's over there." And he gestures to a bush and he says, "If you'd like to have a quickie in it." And, no, thanks.
I'm good.
And yeah, no, I'm good. And he goes, oh, okay, I thought I'd ask, and then goes and disappears into the bushes again. So I told her she needs to write a book called Quickies in My Sleeping Bag and Other Encounters with because that's what.
And on that note, what the are we drinking? Because we need to be drinking. We need to be drinking. I'm drinking out of my happy birthday wine glass. There we go. I'm drinking my I'm trying to put this in terms like Sunny does, and I'm lacking, but like how you say balling on a budget with bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking on a wine. I'm winging it with my wine. With my wine box of Pinot Grigio. So
winging it without money with wine.
With wine. It comes out of a box. It's like a Capri Sun, except I'm bougie and I put it in a glass. So that's
Capri Sun for adults.
That's yes, that is accurate. Randi, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking my vodka in Florida.
My vodka in Florida.
I'm gonna do like the women on the things do with their makeup. All right, my vodka from my
my brush is of number 44 from MAC.
Please look at my bronzer. This bronzer here is available at I don't know where people.
This bronzer is courtesy of Sunburn. You're welcome.
I'm
usually courtesy of Walgreens. So
amen. Yeah, word up to Walgreens, sponsor us.
Hashtag yes, please.
I wish that I could say that I've fallen off the wagon clearly, and I do not have bourbon in my house. All I had was brandy. I just wasn't really in the mood, given that it's 112 degrees outside.
Oh.
Mango truly.
Nice.
Yes. Mango is foul.
But I am super excited for the cases today. And AJ.
Excuse me.
AJ.
I'll edit.
Your other superpower.
Don't edit that. Let's just keep that.
Let's roll with it.
Let's roll with it. So we are covering today, listeners, fair listeners, ladies and gentlemen, neither or both. We will be discussing fatal physicians, doctors and nurses who kill.
We're going to ruin all of your hospital visits for you. Spoiler alert.
If they weren't already ruined by OBGYNs.
We just had that discussion.
I got a text message from my OBGYN. You are due for a pap smear. What the fuck kind of a text message is that? Who sends that text message? Nobody wants to get that message. Why did I get it?
Buy me dinner first.
Buy me Taco Bell. Okay, I'm a cheap date.
Chalupa.
Get me Taco Bell. I want the left side of the menu with the churro, and I'm happy. Okay, that's it. But why you got to send me a text message saying that it's my time for my annual?
What do you respond to that? Thanks.
I'll be there at 12 with some vodka and some tequila. I don't know.
Just shoot it into my uterus. Maybe I'll get drunk faster.
You know what? That I feel like that's gonna be the next gen. Is just like, you've tried shots, now try uterine bombs.
I mean, they already put it up their booty. So I mean, what's the
I have
difference from the
seen
other way around?
that on 1,000 Ways to Die, which is amazing.
Oh, so no one that I work with listens, but when I was coming back from Afghanistan, we got 2 beers every 22 hours, and the infantry guys that I deployed. So after 9 months of drinking, 2 beers is plenty because it's Russian beer, so it's like an obscene amount of alcohol. But so the infantry guys, they were like, I read that the membrane in your nose is thinner than your stomach, so if I snort beer, I get drunk fast. And they were snorting beer, and I don't know, they got drunk, so it must have worked. But whatever. Also, don't disclaimer: don't snort beer. Don't do that.
Disclaimer: don't snort anything.
Yeah, don't
except air. Just
air is
breathe.
Otherwise,
just breathe. That's.
I'm high on life, y'all.
That's it. Okay, so before I kick us off with my case, and Randi already was able to see my beautiful nails. I got my nails done today.
Love it. Yes, queen.
They're kazoo purple. This is the color title. It's kazoo purple. I love it. I love it. I'm so very happy.
You are gorgeous.
I feel so pretty.
And your makeup is flawless.
Oh, thank you. I feel pretty today. OBGYN, my case. Okay, so we're going to come back to OBGYN and a story about that, a little anecdote that I have. Okay, so fatal physicians. I'm going to kick us off with the very famous cases, plural, of Dr. Walter J. Freeman. Okay, I did hear a slight breath. So Walter J. Freeman was born on November 14th, 1895, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by his parents. So Freeman's grandfather, Williams Keene, was a well-known surgeon in the Civil War. His father was also a very successful doctor, so he comes from a family of physicians. Okay, so Walter Freeman attended Yale University. He graduated in 1916, fancy. And then he moved on to study neurology. I know, so fancy. I went to Yale. Well, really, I went to UTEP, so go Miners. Okay. That's all I have to say about that. We're in the top 10 with Yale. That's all I have to say.
Heck yes.
Google it, boys and girls. Google UTEP top 10 science schools. All right. So Walter Freeman moved to study neurology at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School. So I need to add here that his first degree was not in medicine. So he moves on to study medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, so that's kind of an important little side note. In 1924, Freeman relocated to Washington, D.C., and he earned a PhD in neuropathology within the following few years, and he secured a position at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. as the head of the neurology department. All right, so we're going to take like a little sidestep here. So I'm going to give you a side background in the history of the lobotomy. Pause for effect.
No. Oh, God.
Okay. So the first systemic attempt at human in the 80s and is commonly attributed to a Swiss psychiatrist by the name of Burkhardt. So here are some sheer numbers about the lobotomy procedure. Over the years from 1880s until they were stopped in the 1970s, so 90 years of lobotomies, 90 years, there had been up to 50,000 people in the United States in mental institutions and hospitals that had been lobotomized. So 50,000. 10,000, so 20% of those procedures were quote unquote ice pick lobotomies. So close your eyes for just a moment and imagine an ice pick.
I don't want to.
Quite literally, the ice pick lobotomies. And this is what Walter Freeman was the father of. He was the father of the ice pick lobotomy. And he himself performed 3,400 lobotomies himself. So 30% of the 10,000, a little over 30%, like 34% of the 10,000 lobotomies in the United States, Walter Freeman II performed himself.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm not closing my eyes because I'm imagining it. I'm closing my eyes because I suddenly have a very bad headache.
Yes. Yeah, I've had a consistent headache like in this region since I started reading about this person. He has stayed with me. His like, I don't know, like his like energy has like been in my left eye. And okay,
Yeah,
so
no.
Randy and Sunny know me very well.
Sucker Punch, so no.
Yeah, the Randy and Sunny know me very well, and I suffer from migraines. I suffer from chronic migraines, and my migraines come in my right eye, and it feels like my right eye is going to come out of my head. But right now, since I've been studying and I've been reading about this person, my left eye, like up into like my nasal cavity, has just been in like pretty much consistent sharp pain since reading about this person. But that's just part of like being physical, I guess. Okay, so in 1926, Freeman began teaching in Washington, D.C. He was a teacher. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he was a teacher, both at the U.S. Naval Medical School and at Georgetown University, where he served without pay and later in 1931 earned an additional PhD. In 1926, he was appointed as a professor of neurology and a chair of the neurology department at George Washington University. By the 1930s, he had begun to use oxygen therapy as a treatment for mental illness. So I want to take a slight kind of digression just to the definition of mental illness. So my first thing to say is that the system of mental illness in this country it's a sad representation. It's getting better, but it's not where it needs to be.
Broken.
And as someone who suffers from severe anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, mental illness is something that is very real for the majority of Americans.
Therapy
and
is
the
important.
humans, just human beings. And so that is a system that just needs to be looked at. Okay, so from my source, which will be in our notes, mental illnesses are health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or a combination of these. Mental illnesses are associated with distress and or problems functioning in social, work, or family activities, which I've had. Like if there's a very like populated place and it's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of anxiety in that for me. So
when you put on Diane word and you do some fatty boom boom and then it's better.
That is medicine. That is medicine to me. I totally, that is like therapy to just like go crazy. To get serious, mental illness, I don't even like that phrase illness because it's just your current state of mind. It's just how you're perceiving the immediate environment you're in, and how do you react to that? How do you cope with that? And in some cases, it's very difficult. And so these lobotomies were looked at as a way to cure or treat and make better these individuals that had quote unquote mental illness.
It was a quick fix.
It
How do we
was a
fix
quick
this immediately?
Oh, so quick
Yeah,
and
you don't have
ugly.
to think about how sad you are if you can't think at all.
Exactly. If you have to learn how to feed yourself, you can think. All right, so we'll get to it. So Freeman's procedure severed the connection between the frontal lobes and the thalamus. And Sunny, you and I both being, students of science, and Randy being a very strong proponent of mental health and physical well-being, we are very familiar with the frontal lobe's capacity of processing information, processing emotions, processing decision making.
Yes.
Okay, so because Walter Freeman was a neurologist and not a neurosurgeon, big difference. He knew the brain, but he was not qualified to yet practice medical procedures on the brain. So he enlisted huge difference. He enlisted the help of neurosurgeon James Watts. 1 year after enlisting James Watts, they performed their very first frontal lobotomy in the United States on a housewife. Oh, I have such a problem with that term. We see we're going to see the term housewife come up again. Her name was Alice Hood Hammond. She was 63 years old, and she was suffering from insomnia. Hi, I'm here.
Hello.
And agitated depression.
Okay.
Wait. So pretty much normal life for any.
Did you say the human condition?
The human condition, insomnia and agitated depression. Cool.
Did you say being unable to realize self-actualization?
Let's just sever those connections in the brain.
Oh, Sunny and AJ, I love it when you all talk science. It's so sexy.
It's so sexy.
God.
So I will note that at this point in time, the lobotomies were performed by drilling holes into the front of the brain, like literally drilling a hole. Okay, so they drilled a hole to try to relieve her depression and insomnia.
Yeah, I mean, it's science. That's the way it works. You just do physical damage to the brain and it just fixes things, right?
It fixes things. Yeah, it's totally fine. So by November, only 2 months after performing their first lobotomy procedure, Freeman and Watts had already worked on 20 cases, including several follow-up operations. I shudder to think what a follow-up operation would be. And by 1942, the duo had performed over 200 lobotomy procedures and published the results, claiming 63% of patients had improved, 24% of patients were reported to be unchanged, and 14% were worse after surgery. I don't know about you, but those odds are not good.
Not great.
Okay. There were pioneers before Freeman who had performed similar surgeries. However, theirs included inserting a tube into the brain through either a drilled hole or other means, and then injecting alcohol into the brain to.
Excuse me, what?
Yeah,
what?
Like kind of like an enema for your brain. You know how you like stick a tube up there, insert some alcohol, and then let it kind of drain out, and it would be a cure-all for whatever mental illnesses you were having.
How the fuck is this? How? Okay. Got it.
Yeah. It gets worse. It gets so much worse. Okay. So instead of injecting alcohol into the brains of their patients, what they decided to do, I shouldn't say they, because Watts he was opposed to what Freeman had decided to do. So Freeman has studied some other doctors' procedures and their background, and he saw that there was a doctor in South America doing the same procedure, but through the eye socket. What Walter Freeman decided to do was a new procedure. And this new procedure was literally sticking an ice pick through the eye socket of the patient. So in January 1946, Walter Freeman performed his first transorbital lobotomy procedure, operating on a depressed, there's that word again, depressed, and violent, how is she violent? Didn't ever say, 29-year-old woman. The procedure was dubbed a success, and the patient was able to return to a quote unquote relatively normal life.
Define normal.
Yeah, define relatively.
I wish I could, because my normal is not their definition. So this new procedure became known as the ice pick lobotomy and was performed by inserting a metal pick into the corner of each eye socket, hammering
Hate it.
like using a hammer,
Hate it.
hammering it through the thin bone with a mallet, and then moving it back and forth.
They're like,
So-
you know what's a technical medical procedure? We're gonna get an ice pick and a fucking mallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems.
I need to add that the only way that they put these patients out so that they wouldn't feel pain was through electric shock.
I thought you were gonna say they just punch him in the face.
No, I think that they would probably have wished that, but they went through an entire torture session of electric shock to be put out of their consciousness before they experienced this ice pick lobotomy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were okay. So he was hammering it through the thin bone with a mallet and then moving it back and forth. So if you're not watching on YouTube, like use your hand like back and forth, like you've got a Q-tip up your nose, like back and forth, severing the connections to the prefrontal cortex in the frontal lobes of the brain. This transorbital lobotomy method did not require a neurosurgeon and could be performed outside of an operating room without the use of anesthesia by using electroconvulsive therapy to induce a seizure. So let's add a seizure onto this to this brain damage. Let's add that. The modifications to his lobotomy allowed Freeman to broaden the use of surgery, which could be performed in psychiatric hospitals throughout the United States that were overpopulated and understaffed. In 1950, Walter Freeman's long-term partner, James Watts, left their practice and split from Freeman due to his opposition to the cruelty and overuse of the transorbital lobotomy. Good for you, Watts. Good. You should have realized it sooner, but we're glad you realized it when you did.
You're here now. We appreciate that.
We appreciate that. So following his development of the transorbital lobotomy, Freeman traveled across the country, visiting mental institutions, performing lobotomies, and spreading his views and methods to institutional staff. Freeman's name gained popularity despite the widespread criticism of his methods following a lobotomy on President John F. Kennedy's sister, Rosemary Kennedy, which left her with severe mental and physical disability. A memoir written by former patient Howard Dolly called My Lobotomy documented his experiences with Freeman and his long recovery after undergoing a lobotomy surgery at 12 years of age.
Jesus Christ.
12 years old. I will note, and I don't think I have it in my notes here, but they did perform these lobotomies on 4 toddlers. Okay, so Randi and Sunny, I want you guys to guess how much he charged for these lobotomies.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, Randi, you go first. How much? What do you think?
What year was this?
1930s to 1960s.
I'll say $20.
Okay, Sunny.
For the time, $25.
The Jew for the win. Wait, I feel
For
so dirty. I'm
each
sorry.
one.
Okay, look, I'm a better Jew because I was being conservative.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, $25 for each one.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so after
At the
4
time, that's-
decades, so let's do
Yeah.
the math. After 4 decades, he had performed possibly as many 4,000 lobotomy surgeries in 23 states, of which 2,500 used his ice pick procedures, despite the fact that he had no formal surgical training. 0. In 1967, Freeman performed his final surgery on Helen Mortensen. Mortensen was a long-term patient and was receiving her 3rd lobotomy from Freeman. She died of cerebral hemorrhage, as did many of his 100 other patients, and he was finally banned from performing surgery.
And now he's
His
in jail.
patient. Oh God, I wish it's not wrapped up that nice. His patients often had to be retaught how to eat and use the bathroom. Relapses were common, some were recovered, and about 15% died from the procedure. So 15% from 4,000. Let's see. It's like
Math.
490 patients.
Jesus.
Fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. This is fine.
It's fine.
We're all fine.
It's fine.
Totally fine. In 1951, one patient at Iowa's Cherokee Mental Health Institute died when Freeman suddenly stopped for a photo during the procedure, and a surgical instrument accidentally penetrated too far into the patient's brain. Freeman wore neither gloves nor mask during these procedures.
AJ, why are you doing this to me?
He
My head hurts.
lobotomized 19 minors, including 4 toddlers. While Freeman's work found many supporters, his courting of the media reflected an arrogance and recklessness that placed many people's lives and health at stake.
Shocking.
Of the 3,500 lobotomies, possibly closer to 4,000, that he performed or supervised during his career, an estimated 490 individuals died as a result of this treatment. 490.
It's almost like he was scrambling their brains. Weird.
It's almost like when the Egyptians were trying to remove the brains so that they could mummify them. It's similar procedure.
But they were already dead in Egypt.
Uh-huh.
They weren't doing it from the living. They were doing it from the dead.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Oy.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Hey, his attitude and fatality rate, because, oh my God, we had to get to 490. We couldn't have stopped at 2.
Like 10 seems like a good round number.
Yeah, but 490 people died of his lack of interest in describing as a scientific basis for the procedure, left him with little authority in the medical community. He was able to retire at 57 years old. He retired. He was never brought to task. He retired from the medical community and his position at George Washington University and opened up a modest practice in California.
Oh, good.
He would
And
just like
extend-
shoot people in the head. That's how we cure them. Just quick gunshot
yeah,
to the face.
that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's a little boop with a gun right there.
So he died of in May 31st, 1972. So we're at an anniversary period for him.
Oh shit.
Sir is able to live through 1972.
Oh, I'm glad
And
he was
he's survived by his 4 children, Walter, Frank, Paul, and Lorne, and they are fervent defenders of their father's legacy. So good for them. I mean, I get it. That's your dad. Also, there's 490 people that died at his hands.
Also the most prolific serial killer that we don't talk about.
Who's the doctor? And we let him.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor.
490 people died.
I am way too sober for this.
Mm-hmm.
There will be pictures on our Facebook and Instagram at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime of some of these fantastic photos that I discovered of Walter Freeman, James Watts, a diagram of them sticking an ice pick up somebody's transorbital, and of the actual ice picks themselves. So I will have those photos for you guys on the drive. 490 patients, Dr. Walter Freeman, the father of lobotomy. You're welcome. That's my
Brady,
case.
you don't get any golf claps this time because that was terrible. And also, I've got a thing about the eyes. Randy, you know this.
Oh, my face hurts. Yes.
Okay. All right. So
hold on. That is part 1 of our medical episodes. Just wait for part 2 when I really bring it home.
Oh boy.
I'm just gonna knock it into home run. It's gonna be great.
Ay.
You're welcome.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're welcome.
Well, okay, so I will say for this particular topic, so first of all, welcome to the bakery. I do have 3 slices of bread for you in the bakery today.
Yes.
This was, it was actually pretty hard to find the level of stupidity that I liked to go for this particular topic. And I will say that I kind of sort of relatively followed the assignment, mostly.
I'm crossing my fingers. But it's so much fun when you don't. I mean,
okay. So it was, doctors who kill and kind of all of that. So you will see that I have mostly kind of followed the assignment.
A little bit.
So I think that you all know how strongly I feel about quackery.
We do.
Uh-huh. We do.
Mm-hmm. And it's sort of a personal thing of mine that I might get a little bit too intense about when it comes to quackery, but I don't think so, because quackery is defined as dishonest practices and claims to have special knowledge and skill in some field, typically medicine. And we live in a day and age where there's a lot of that, and it really bothers me. So today we are going to be discussing mostly quackery. And we're starting actually pretty recently in February of 2019. And wouldn't you know it, it's happening in Florida.
Florida.
Not Florida.
Florida, just for you.
We love you, Florida.
Florida do better.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be discussing a gentleman named Onilio Hippolyte Gonzalez.
That's quite a name.
It was a lot of letters from Tampa, who was charged with practicing medicine without a license. I am pretty excited to tell you about it because he had been advertising certain services, mostly catering to the Hispanic community, on a website called El Clasificado. And not a lot was known about what he was doing, except that people were having some complaints about the outcomes. So an undercover officer posing as a patient went to make an appointment with him on February 7th of 2019, and this is what he found. He reached out and said, yes, I'm interested in getting cures, because this gentleman was advertising cures for basically everything on the planet. It can fix your heart, it can fix your brain, it can fix your intestines, your bones, your nerves. See, because I would have paid a lot of money for that.
I would sell a kidney for that service.
It could cure everything. So he goes and meets him. And this doctor, Hippolyte Gonzalez, tells the patient, quote unquote, that the house actually isn't his, it's his friend's, but it's where he sees his patients. So they meet. The guy fills out a bunch of paperwork. He's asked to pay $160. He has his blood pressure and pulse checked. And then they place a band around his head, and they had him hold in his hand a metal rod that was connected to a very bizarre looking machine. It was turned on, it was beeping, and Hippolyte Gonzalez told this undercover officer that the device was testing every system, including heart, brain, intestines, bones, nerves, and everything else. And so when the test was complete, essentially when the beeping stopped, Hippolyte Gonzalez said that his cholesterol was on the way to being too high, and he was not getting enough oxygen to his brain. He also had 50% fat in his liver, diabetes, and osteoporosis.
Oh, okay, from beeps.
Yeah, yep. Okay. So this guy told the undercover officer he could cure his diabetes with several more visits and only an extra $2,000.
Only.
Went on to say, and this is what had been reported to the police, that the treatment would include injecting the patient with his own blood.
What?
So apparently he had been accused of actually injecting his own blood into patients, saying he would draw the patient's blood and then re-inject it, but actually injecting, again, unknown blood, likely to be his. So when he was questioned further, when he was interviewed, he said he did not believe he needed a license to practice medicine.
Oh my God.
I mean, same.
When asked if he had any type of medical schooling, He stated he'd been working as a lab technician back in Cuba, and that he had certificates in iridology, herbology, and nutrition. He said that by drawing a patient's blood and re-injecting it, the body re-entering the blood combats the blood cells and increases the immune system. And he was held in jail on a $10,000 bond. That is slice of bread number one. And just really love all the great people posing in the medical community.
Yeah, Sunny, you're supposed to be the palate cleanser. What the hell?
Yes. Oh, I wish that I could have found. However, it's like, well, I didn't know that I needed to have a license to practice medicine. I mean,
I read a book.
That matter? It's literally the machine.
So I am now a professional.
Literally, the machine is like it's like a Doctor Who prop from the old Doctor Who.
Okay, I might have been sold by that. Not gonna lie.
And just like your liver is super wonky. You're literally holding
something that looks like a toilet plunger.
A metal rod. Yeah. You're just holding it. He literally hands you a toilet plunger. He's like, you have diabetes.
On my face, I have diabetes. Plunge it over.
Oh God. So my second one is also not fun, but I will explain why I picked it because there was one fun part.
You're the fun one. Why are we not? This is
what is going on?
I apologize, but I promise fun stuff in here. Listen to me. Okay, so we're stepping back to kind of the 1920s-ish, actually. And this takes place both in Washington State and in New Zealand.
Okay.
So have you all heard of a woman named Linda?
Oh my God. Oh. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will, again, I'm not going to go into because there's much shorter, and I will explain why I picked this for my particular segment, why it's a slice of bread. But she was once again a self-declared doctor, and she was called the starvation doctor.
Yeah, she was.
No,
fasting as a panacea for every medical ailment known to man. Mm-hmm. So she had a sanitarium in Olalla, Washington. And up to 40 patients have likely died of starvation in her sanitarium. Mm-hmm. So she would have people come in and fast for days, weeks, or months on diets of small amounts of tomato and asparagus juice, and sometimes orange juice. While some patients did survive and were very excited about it, many more definitely got the short end of the stick. Local residents refer to the place as Starvation Heights, and said that starvation was the only way to rid the body of toxins that caused imbalances in the body.
Yep.
In 1912, she was convicted of manslaughter for the death of a Claire Williamson, who weighed less than 50 pounds at the time of her death. And she had forged Williamson's will, stolen all of her valuables at that point, and then Williamson's sister also took the treatment and managed to survive just barely when a family member rescued her from the compound. And at that point, she weighed less than 60 pounds. Mm-hmm. She was sentenced to, 2 to 20 years in prison, because that's a pretty large range, and ended up getting pardoned later.
Mm. She was all sorts of evil.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She used the title doctor, even though she had absolutely no business doing that.
Well, that's why she went to Washington, because they had that grandfather rule.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yep. And she supervised fasts both in New Zealand, in Washington. Never really got the comeuppance from a legal perspective, and this is dark, and I realized I was trying to find something funny here, but so she was there like in her sanitarium, continued to supervise fasts until 1935. Her sanitarium burned down in 1935, which I'm kind of like, you know what, sucks to be you. This is, although I like better, I want to do a throwback to burning of the altar where the priest and the two ladies liked that better. Just sort of the burning aspect of it, but I'm like, I like things that end in flames.
She doesn't.
But
She doesn't.
died of starvation in 1938.
Of her own treatment. Yeah.
Yup.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Yup.
Fuck yeah.
And-
Bye, bitch.
She
Yes.
subscribed to herself, her own prescription, if you will, and she herself died of starvation. Which I feel like she got off kind of easy, to be honest. I mean, she did die from her own accord, but
I love I would like so into herself that she's like, nah, I got this.
I got this. Yeah. I kind of would have liked to see her die of like eating pizza rolls for like 4 days, like just shoving her face with John Bobbitt pizza rolls until she just cannot take it anymore, and she just falls
by Twinkies.
over. Death by small penises. Just John Bobbitt pizza rolls, just like so many.
AJ, AJ, are you giving
I'm giving a little teaser.
of our
I'm giving a little teaser.
Little foreshadowing.
Yeah, I would have liked for her to die with like food in her trachea. Anyway, I'm evil. Yeah. I'm an evil witch like that. That's how I roll. Well, not ashamed of it either. I'm not ashamed. Not ashamed.
Oh my god, AJ, are you not a love and light witch?
I'm really not. I'm not.
If you're not watching on if you're not watching on YouTube, I just rolled my eye so hard that I detached my retinas. So
Yep. I am not that witch.
I love the idea that she, and this is the thing, I realize that this is only funny in the darkest of ways, but I love she got caught up so much in her own stuff, and then that she died from that exact.
Oh yeah, she's like, you know what? I got this, and you're like, you're gonna die. Nope.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna be cured.
I'm gonna be so thin, bubble. I'm gonna be so thin and svelte. And just amazing. Like, no, you're actually gonna die. Like, no.
No, I'm gonna look fabulous. It's gonna be fabulous.
Yeah.
She a crazy bitch.
So
not in a good way.
The third slice of red, we are going back to the early 1800s in Ireland.
Okay.
And we are talking about a gentleman named John St. John Long, which is too many Johns. In one name.
And am I related in some way?
I have questions.
I have questions that I'm not prepared for those to be answered. So continue.
Well, we're going to go with no, and we're going to get into why.
Excellent. Take it away.
He was an Irish-born doctor, in quotation marks, who claimed to be able to cure tuberculosis. Treatments for tuberculosis both involved secret formulas. One inhaled and the other one rubbed on the back or chest. Right? He just has them doing whippets. Sucking helium, and they're like, oh my god, it feels so much better. Like
I love it.
Yeah, and it's just so the rubbing treatment, which the name of the rubbing treatment was conducted daily for 5 to 10 days until they developed a running sore, which allowed the disease to leave the body.
Lovely.
So that's fun.
You should rub some Neosporin on that.
He surprisingly, he did cause some people to die, or rather not have received the appropriate treatment. So he had been tried for the death of a young girl who was 16 who did have tuberculosis. And as he had been visiting, he preyed on her mother's fears, convincing her to obtain treatment for her other daughter, even though her other daughter was completely fine. And this wound the running sore became severely infected, and he prescribed mulled wine, which is how I mean, that does that is the answer for many things, but
It
unfortunately,
really is. Well, wine is the answer to a lot.
I mean,
wine is
same.
the answer for a lot, but not for
to a
sepsis.
16-year-old. No, not for sepsis.
Not for sepsis. So he was tried for, causing this particular death, but he was only fined 250 pounds, which seemed good.
Adequate. It's it's equal.
So really, like, did not get his comeuppance again via law.
Wait,
but-
what do you say, Sonny? Like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. Don't do it again. Nope.
And
Shame
but
on you.
again, this is I feel like we have a running theme because guess what? Long got tuberculosis.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he
not
got
sorry.
tuberculosis.
Bye.
And he refused treatment by his own method.
Oh, pumpkin.
But see, my favorite thing though is like he did indeed get tuberculosis and he died, but they say he died at the age of 35, reportedly from tuberculosis, but perhaps also from a horse riding accident. Because
But perhaps also of
they're
arrogance.
the same.
And also maybe of alcoholism. Sorry, that went dark. Love you guys.
So
Not surprising for this person.
he did leave all of his, everything that he had to his brother William, including his secret remedy, which surprisingly William did not decide to continue.
Oh, shocking.
And so I have a bonus slice for you, a little extra bite with some butter. While I was researching, I was really hoping to find something really fun on, I'll just tell you, and you guys will know exactly what I was researching. So there was a woman in Dickinson, Texas in April of 2019 named Cactus Calderas, which I love just in general. And she was stopped after failing to signal a lane change. Apparently she looked kind of nervous, and so her vehicle, and they found
A cactus.
meth in her purse, along with butane lighters and a small pipe. But she told the police it was fine because they were crystals.
They were what?
Healing crystals. And I was like, girl, you're not wrong, I guess.
You're so not right.
No, they're not.
No. Do better. Do better.
The right
So,
crystals. No, honey, no.
She was charged with possession of a controlled substance. But I was looking up for instances of quackery involving crystals, and this is what came up.
I love it.
Is that just for us, Sunny?
I think
that
so.
is just for you. That is just because I'm here. My superpower is to ruin everything. So
I love it. I love it, and I'm wearing my very special crystal, my smoky topaz, which is moon powered. It has like stayed with the latest moon phases, and it's supercharged. So yeah, my crystal healing powers. I'm like, no, officer, it's not anything to be,
no,
suspicious of.
it's fine. They're healing crystals.
Fine, it's a healing crystal. It's healing alcohol. It's fine.
It's healing alcohol.
Fine.
It's healing wine.
Well, I love, like, even as superstitious as like me and AJ are, I feel like for us, step 30 is crystals. And steps 1 through 29 is like, look, sis, for me, I'm in the army and I'm like, look, we're gonna drink water, we're gonna take Motrin, we're gonna take Adrenal Security, and then we're gonna try ibuprofen, because like if Motrin doesn't work, we have to pull out the big guns. We'll do ibuprofen.
But not stuff for seizures.
Right.
Oh no, you have a seizure? I'm sending you to the fucking hospital. And then again, step 30 is, let's try a crystal. Maybe we should do that. Let's do some sage.
Never will there be a step where an ice pick through the eye socket is involved. Never.
Thank you, AJ.
Never.
My headache literally just went away, and then you brought that shit back up.
It's never gonna be there. It's never.
Sunny, you're supposed to...
Randy, what do you have for us today?
Oh,
I know. So I apologize for the bakery, guys, but like I looked, and it was.
This was a hard one.
This was a rough batch of bread, and
Yeah.
It was.
Mhm.
This was kind of like when you were expecting, I don't know, carrot cake, and then you ended up with
Poop cake.
pumpernickel.
Okay,
with rye bread. Ugh.
Rye bread.
To be fair,
Okay,
Michelle.
hold on. I have to go on a slight anecdote. As a Methodist, you had to take communion every first Sunday of the month. And there was this community chapel that my mom would take us to as kids for church. So every first Sunday we would have to take communion. And this community church, I don't know what their shtick was, but they were like, here's some rye bread. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to eat. I do not need to eat the body of Christ. If this is how the body of Christ tastes, I'm good.
Christ has not been working on his diet much because this is terrible.
I just like thinking about it still makes me gag in my throat. Like, okay.
Just think about a lobotomy.
Oh,
well,
okay. Would you rather rye bread, lobotomy? Pick one. You have to pick.
If the lobotomy will let me never taste rye bread again, I might go with the lobotomy.
I'm sure lobotomy would make you not taste anything ever again.
Well, okay, that's my side story. Sorry, had to get that out.
Healing crystal.
Sunny, I'm super glad that you brought it so far down because I'm gonna bring it way back up.
Yay!
No, I'm not. So.
Oh,
Such a liar.
Yeah, I'm a total liar. All right, so I will be telling you the story of Joseph Michael Swango. He is an American former physician and an admitted serial killer of 4 people whom, you see what I did there? Whom the press dubbed Dr. Death. Not to be confused with the other Dr. Death that Wondery covered, which is an amazing podcast. You should totally listen to it. So he admitted to 4 deaths, but colleagues believed he caused up to 60. Wasn't proven, wasn't admitted, allegedly, quote unquote. So let's get into Swango. He was born in Tacoma, Washington on October 21st, 1954. He's a Scorpio. We don't claim him. His parents divorced and he was raised by his mother. Good, right? Raised by the mom. Not good. Not good. So from the age of 3, Swango showed an unusual interest in violent deaths. As he got older, he became fixated on stories about the Holocaust, particularly those that contained pictures of the death camps. All right, look, I'm Jewish and I don't like the pictures. So don't do that because it's horrific. His interest was so strong that he began to keep a scrapbook of pictures and articles about fatal car wrecks and macabre crimes. His mother would also contribute to his scrapbooks when she came across such articles. Encourage what your children do, but maybe not that. So by the time Swango was in middle school, he had put together several scrapbooks. Scrapbooks keep coming around again and again, so just put that into your head.
So the moral of the story is if you scrapbook, you probably want to watch out for that individual. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. Don't scrapbook ever anything.
Good.
I'm just aggressively shaking my head no.
So can you imagine how bad that we would be at that? We would get like 1 page and be like, we're gonna scrapbook, and then we'd never do it again.
I no, there's no, I can't.
Well, all of my
and never pick them up.
I'm gonna scrapbook one day, 30 years later. One day. Swango, he was the valedictorian. All right, look, I'm gonna give you a disclaimer real quick. This is 11 p.m. my time, and I had a whole ass dinner with my aunts, and I am many glasses of wine in. So I'm gonna be talking slowly because I'm drunk. So
Swango, love it.
Oh, I miss you guys. He was valedictorian of his 1972 Quincy Catholic Boys High School class. which is in Quincy, Illinois. For our non-American listeners, we love you. After high school, he attended Millikan University in Decatur on a full music scholarship, where it said he was an outcast, and about a year or two into his college career, his girlfriend left him. So around this time, he started wearing military fatigues instead of the college blazers. So he quit the university and joined the Marine Corps. He did his time in the Marine Corps. He received an honorable discharge in 1976. And then he was accepted into the Quincy College. And then he decided, after he was accepted, which is interesting, to submit a falsified form saying that he'd earned a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, which get fucked if you're falsifying your military records. He didn't serve overseas, but his training in the Corps, I'm going to quote this is from Wikipedia. His training in the Corps, quote, left him with a commitment to physical exercise. He was frequently seen jogging or performing calisthenics on the Quincy University campus. He would do push-ups as a form of self-punishment when instructors criticized him. So I'm gonna go off on a small tangent. I get out of the military in 2 years, and I am literally never doing a fucking push-up again, ever.
Nope.
So I hate doing push-ups. Hate it. So I'm not gonna be able to.
I can do like 10 if I'm in good shape.
I can do two. That's it. That's all I have in me.
I could do 50 under duress, but I'm never going to get out and it's like, oh yeah, she was in the military and she liked doing anything. No, I don't. I'm never doing push-ups. I fucking hate cardio. And so the fact that he's in the Marine Corps, which don't get me wrong, I love my crane eaters. Love you guys. I'm not doing a fucking push-up. And so he was in for 4 years and I was like, oh, he loved doing physical exercise. Yeah, okay, anyway, bye. But he was a very smart man. So Swango graduated summa cum laude in 1979 and he was presented the American Chemical Society Award. I tried to look this up to see what it meant. And all I got was, quote, we honor and celebrate your achievements in advancing the chemical enterprise and making a positive impact in your organizations, communities, and society. So whatever he did in college, he got this American Chemical Society Award. So after graduating, he attended the medical school in Southern Illinois University School of Medicine. Let's talk about his time at SIU. He, even at, because mind you, he was early 20s, he had a noticeable fascination with dying patients. He was called lazy because he was an ambulance attendant at this time, but he would focus on that job instead of focusing on his studies. He had a reputation for being serious, some people said, but other people said that he was lazy and he was doing the ambulance attendant thing. He was assigned to do checkups on the patients, and many of them suffered life-threatening emergencies. They call it coding. Like when you code out, you're not quite dead, but somebody, yeah, Sonny, you know. You're not dead, but somebody needs to come in and save you. But when his patients were coding, at least 5 of them died. His classmates began to call him, quote, 00 Swango, in reference to the James Bond. So it was in reference to the James Bond and, quote, license to kill slogan. So it was around this time that his classmates and his instructors began to see him as incompetent. He was lazy. He was weird. Not weird in a good way, not weird like I like D&D, weird like
I get called weird a lot and I take that as a compliment, but this guy was weird in a bad way.
Right, not weird in a good way. In Swango's final year at SIU, he sent off applications for internships and residency programs in neurosurgery. With the help of his teacher and mentor, Dr. Waycaster, who is also a neurosurgeon, Swango was able to provide the colleges with a letter of recommendation. And Waycaster also took the time to include a handwritten letter with a personal note of confidence on how much he was, what's the word? He just thought Swango was super awesome at his job, which
he wasn't.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, he wasn't. Swango was accepted into neurosurgery at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics in Iowa City. So I'm going to talk about a super awesome, badass woman in a second. So once he nailed down the residency, Swango showed little interest in his remaining 8 weeks at SIU. He didn't show up for required rotations and to watch specific surgeries performed. let me introduce you to Dr. Kathleen O'Connor. Love her, whoever she is. I hope you're still alive. So again, he has 8 weeks left of residence, or he has 8 weeks left of school, and he's just not doing the thing that he's supposed to do. Dr. Kathleen O'Connor noticed this, and she called his place of employment to schedule a meeting to discuss the matter of him not showing up for these surgeries or for these rotations. She couldn't find him, but she did learn that the ambulance company, remember the one that he was working for and he was neglecting his studies, no longer permitted Swango to have direct contact with patients, although the reason why was not disclosed. Although his peers thought he'd been faking checkups since the second year, he was caught red-handed when she did a thing. Thank you, Dr. O'Connor.
Yeah.
So when she did finally get to see Swango, she gave him the assignment to perform a complete history and examination on a woman who is going to have a cesarean section. She observed he was entering the woman's room. It's not totally bad. So Dr. O'Connor entered.
Why does gynecology keep coming up this episode, guys?
Look, you're supposed to be the palate cleanser and you weren't.
Dude, I tried. It was crystal healing. That's what I had. That's all I have.
Healing. So Dr. O'Connor gave him the task of perform a complete history and examination of a woman who is going to have a cesarean section. So she observed him entering the woman's room and leaving after just 10 minutes. Swango then turned in a very thorough report on the woman, an impossible task given the amount of time he was in her room. Dr. O'Connor found Swango's actions were reprehensible, and the decision to fail him was made. It meant that he would not be graduating.
It's not okay.
No, dude, 10 minutes? In all of my experience as somebody who gave birth, is probably not it.
No.
So Dr. O'Connor wanted to fail him and have him kicked out of the school. Once the decision to expel him was made, some students and faculty disagreed with the decision, but some of Swango's classmates who had long decided that he was not fit to be a doctor used the opportunity to sign off in a letter describing Swango's incompetence and poor character. They recommended that he be expelled. Did he get expelled? Nope. He lawyered up. And
let's find out.
I'm reading my notes right now. All right, so I'm going to read my notes. Did he get expelled? No, he lawyered up, and those cowards at the university were scared that they would get sued. So his graduation was, I wouldn't say it gets better. It doesn't. All right, so he was not expelled. His graduation was postponed by a year, and he had to follow up, and he was allowed to graduate. So basically what he had to do was finish performing all of the things that he hadn't done, like all of the exams and all of the checkups and everything else. Since he'd lost his neurosurgery internship to Iowa, he had to reapply to different schools, and despite receiving a extremely poor evaluation from the dean of ISU, he got a surgical internship and a residency program in neurosurgery at Ohio State University. Yep, still chasing that neurosurgery program. This left many who knew of Swango's history completely dumbfounded, but he apparently aced his personal interview, and he was the only student out of 60 accepted into the program. Around the time of his graduation, Swango was fired from the ambulance company. Super gross. He was fired from the ambulance company after he told a man having a heart attack to walk to his car and have his wife drive him to the hospital.
No.
After that, he began his internship in 1983 at Ohio State, where he was assigned to the Rhodes Hall wing of the medical center. So obviously, medical centers have wings. This comes into play later. Shortly after he began, there was a series of unexplained deaths among several healthy patients being cared for in the wing. One of the patients who survived a seizure told the nurses that Swango had injected medicine into her just minutes before she became critically ill. Nurses reported to the head nurse their concerns about seeing Swango in patients' room during odd times. There were numerous occasions when patients were found near death or dead just minutes after Swango left the rooms. The nurses went to the administration and an investigation was launched, but instead of looking for evidence, they criticized the nurses, called them paranoid, and Swango was found not at fault, but he was still moved to the Doan wing where patients began to die mysteriously.
Shocking. Wow. Who would have thought?
It's like the nurses don't know what's going on.
I have no idea what's happening. It's all just supposed to be like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's fine.
They completely swept the nurses' concerns under the rug. They just said that they were targeting this good doctor. So Swango decided to be a nice guy, and he brought in fried chicken for everyone, and they became his for his coworkers, and they all became violently ill.
That's disgusting. Oh,
yeah, don't eat things that people bring in.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
In March 1984, the Ohio State Residency Review Committee decided that Swango did not have the necessary qualifications needed to become a neurosurgeon. He was told he could complete his 1-year internship in Ohio, but he was not invited back to complete the second year of residency. Swango stayed at Ohio State until July 1984, and then he moved home to Quincy, Illinois. Before moving back, he applied to get his license to practice medicine from the Ohio State Medical Board, which was approved in September 1984. He told his family that he didn't like Ohio doctors. That's why he went home.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In July 1984, he began working for Adams County Ambulance Corps as an emergency medical technician. They didn't do a background check because he'd already worked there before when he was in his original college. And they didn't check to make sure anything. So they didn't know that he was fired from another ambulance company. What did surface was Swango's weird opinions and behavior. Out came his scrapbooks, filled with references to violence and gore, which he doted on regularly. He began making inappropriate and strange comments related to death and people dying. He would become visibly excited over CNN news stories about mass killings and horrific auto accidents. Even veteran paramedics thought he was, okay, this isn't a direct quote, fucking weird and creepy.
That's a problem. That is a serious problem.
Yeah, when veteran paramedics think that you're fucking weird.
Exactly. Yeah. They've seen it all. And when they think you're weird, you're fucking weird.
Get out.
The word weird, guys. And I feel like we need to reclaim that word. And
it's not okay.
I mean, we are definitely weird, but it's not like people at my work are just like, yo, stay away from that chick.
I mean, some people at my work are like, don't talk to that one.
I mean, I don't want to talk to your people at your work then.
You probably don't.
All right. So there were several incidents where coworkers became ill after eating something Swango had brought to work, including one where he brought in donuts and everyone that ate one was violently ill and several had to go to the ER. His coworkers began comparing notes and some of them decided to go get tested. And when the test came back positive for poison, a police investigation was launched. The police obtained a search warrant for his home and inside they found hundreds of drugs and poisons, several containers of ant poison, books on poisons, and syringes. Swango was arrested and charged with battery. I'm throwing out a lot of dates right now. On August 23rd, 1985, Swango was convicted of aggravated battery, and he was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. He also lost his medical licenses from Ohio and Illinois. While he was in prison, Swango began trying to mend his ruined reputation by doing an interview with John Stossel, who was doing a segment about his case on 2020. Dressed in a suit and tie. Don't know how he got a suit and tie in prison, but okay. Swango insisted that he was innocent and said that the evidence that was used to convict him lacked integrity. As part of the investigation, a look into Swango's past was conducted, and the incidents of patients dying under suspicious circumstances at Ohio State resurfaced. The hospital was reluctant to allow the police access to their records. However, once the media got wind of the story, the university president, Edward Jennings, assigned the dean of Ohio State University Law School, James Meeks, to conduct a full investigation to determine if the situation surrounding Swango had been handled properly. This also meant investigating conduct of some of the most prestigious people in the university. Offering an unbiased assessment of the events that had occurred, Meeks concluded that legally, the hospital should have reported the suspicious incidents to the police because it was their job to decide if the criminal activity had occurred. He also referred to the initial investigations performed by the hospital as, quote, superficial. Meeks also pointed out that he found it astounding that the hospital administrators had not kept a permanent record detailing what had occurred. Once full disclosure was obtained by police, the prosecutors from Franklin County, Ohio, toyed with the idea of charging Swango with murder and attempted murder, but due to lack of evidence, they decided against it. And that ends part 1
Part
of
1.
my
Part one.
story because it gets
One.
so much worse. So that is the
There's
end of
so
part 1 of
oh,
Joseph Michael Swango.
Oh.
So
there's so
Oh.
much.
sneak peek into the backstory of our little podcast. Most of my stories, it's 3 pages of notes, and as I was telling AJ, I got to page 3 and I had much more to cover. So
Yeah,
I have
she
7 pages of notes. So we're doing a 2-parter, and that's why next week is also going to be medical bad. Wait, AJ, what did you come up with? It was so clever.
Fatal Physicians.
Mm-hmm.
Fatal Physicians.
Kind
Fatal
of alliteration,
Physicians.
sort of.
Fatal Physicians, and then Deadly Doctors.
Deadly Doctors, yes.
Deadly Doctors.
So I have for my part, it's a similar and equally disgusting case of a person who just repeatedly violates that doctor's oath. So stay tuned. You'll hear more about my part 2. Randi will continue her part 2 of Dr. Swango, and Sunny will continue to bring that bakery
I'm gonna bring
cases.
some bakery energy.
She's gonna
Sunny-
bring it. It's coming.
Sunny, you're supposed to be a lighthearted one.
Girl, I
fuck?
tried.
I have to just take just a second to vent a moment on my shit day yesterday with a lack of electricity and a chaos of family and
So,
an
hang on.
intense house. It was
AJ.
fucking insane.
AJ, real quick, if you're only here for the case, you can exit stage left. We won't judge you. We're just gonna kind of do the background a little bit. And if you want to stay and hang out, we love you and we really appreciate it. One day I will figure out the phase out and phase in from music. Today is not that day. Next week's not looking good either. So if you're only here for the case, you can definitely leave. So thank you for listening. You can find us on Facebook at Bourbon Wine and True Crime, on Instagram at Bourbon Wine and True Crime. You can email us at bourbonwineandtruecrime@yahoo.com, and you can be a lovely, glorious, luminescent, amazing Patreon at
Yes, you can.
Bourbon
Unicorn.
Wine and True Crime. Unicorn.
Mhm.
You're a unicorn.
Mermaid. Goddess. God.
Where
Others,
can they
yes.
hear us at, Randy? What platforms can people and listeners hear our podcast at? Is it just
Thank you for
where is it at?
asking. You can find us on Spotify at Bourbon Wine and True Crime, and also on your favorite Apple platform at Bourbon Wine and True Crime. We are coming out with stickers and all kinds of fun merch. We haven't figured out how to differentiate between listeners and Patreons. We're getting there, but
if you want to be an accidental female assassin, be a Patreon so that you can get your computer, for your car, for your tattoo that you want, because I'm going to have mine across my rib cage. Accidental female assassin. That is going to be my that's going to be on my epitaph. I think when I die, it's just going to be like AJ 19 blah blah blah. I'm not going to say my age. To I'm going to die like 2097, and it will be accidental female assassin.
So I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but to our listeners that do have tattoos, AJ doesn't have a rib tattoo, and AJ thinks she's getting a rib tattoo. So
I
if you
want
want
one
to,
so bad. I want one so bad.
If you want to comment on how much AJ is not getting a rib tattoo of anything, you can find us at Facebook.
You can donate to that Patreon. If you want to be like, AJ, you need to get this rib tattoo, donate on Patreon, and I will be up for that ink on my rib cage as long as it is something I approve of. I'm just saying.
If AJ gets a rib tattoo, it will 100% be Patreon only content of her screaming and crying, and
that's accurate.
All right.
And as long as you're holding my hand, Randy and Sunny, yeah, that's That's gonna happen.
I'll do my hand workouts to where I gotta
You're
get
gonna bite
ready.
me. I'm not gonna let you. You're gonna bite me. I know
You know what? I am a biter. You know that I am a biter.
Well, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time.
We love you.
Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Make good choices.
Or not,
not.
whatever. We support it.
Or whatever choices you make. We still love you.
We still love you.
Bye everybody.